What happens when a chef in Charleston, South Carolina, refuses to cook for Donald Trump, only to have his entire world turned upside down by an unexpected guest. This is more than a story about politics. It's about love, legacy, and the surprising connections forged in a kitchen. Stick around to discover how one meal changed everything, proving that food has the power to heal even the deepest divides. The salty ocean breeze danced through the cobblestone streets of Charleston, South Carolina, as the city began to wake. Tucked away in the heart of the historic district was Low Country Hearth, a cozy restaurant that had become a local treasure. Inside, Chef Nathan Wong stood over a fresh delivery of seafood, the morning light catching the steam rising from his bustling kitchen. Nathan, a master at blending Southern comfort with Asian-inspired flavors, adjusted his chef's coat before calling out, "Harper, those grits need more butter. People don't come here for bland." "Got it, chef," Harper replied, grabbing the butter dish like her life depended on it. The restaurant wasn't fancy, but it had soul. Known for its rich, heartwarming dishes, Low Country Hearth had earned a loyal following of locals and curious tourists who raved about its charm. To Nathan, though, this was more than just a restaurant. It was a living tribute to his parents, who had worked tirelessly to give him a shot at the American dream. Here, every dish told their story. The kitchen went dead silent. Everyone on Nathan's team knew his feelings about Donald Trump. He often spoke openly about his family's tough journey as immigrants and how hard they worked to build a future. To Nathan, Trump's policies felt like a betrayal of the very ideals his parents had sacrificed so much for. With a deep breath, Nathan took the phone, his jaw tight. "This is Chef Wong," he said curtly. "Good morning, Chef," came a smooth, professional voice. "Mr. Trump would like to host a private dinner at your restaurant tomorrow evening. We've heard incredible things about your establishment." Nathan didn't even pause. "I'm not interested," he said flatly. "Chef, if we could just—" "No," Nathan snapped. "The answer is no." He hung up and placed the phone down with deliberate finality, the clatter echoing in the silent kitchen. The mood in the kitchen shifted. The usually focused and confident Nathan seemed distracted, his rhythm thrown off. By evening, he burned a batch of his famous cornbread, a mistake so out of character that his staff exchanged uneasy glances. Something was clearly weighing on their chef. Later that night, as the final plates of dinner service were cleared, Clara approached Nathan once more, her expression uneasy. "Dad, there's an older woman at the door," she said hesitantly. "She says she needs to talk to you. About Trump." Nathan let out a long sigh. "Tell her we're closed, Clara." "She's crying, Dad," Clara pressed, her voice firm but gentle. Reluctantly, Nathan wiped his hands and stepped into the dining room. Seated at a corner table was an elderly woman, her hands trembling as she clutched a worn photograph. Her face, etched with decades of life, was streaked with tears, but her gaze was steady. "My name is Eleanor Smith," she began softly, her voice carrying a touch of Southern grace. "But to the Trumps, I was just Miss Ellie." She went on to tell Nathan about the years she spent as Donald Trump's nanny when he was a boy. Her voice warmed with nostalgia as she described the Sundays they shared in her small kitchen. "His mother was sick a lot, so he'd spend hours with me. We'd make meatloaf every week, our little tradition," she said, sliding the photograph across the table. Nathan hesitated, then picked up the picture. It showed a young Donald Trump, maybe 7 or 8 years old, grinning as he proudly held up a pie he'd helped bake. The innocent joy in the boy's eyes caught Nathan off guard. Eleanor's voice trembled as she continued. "Years later, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't know how I'd afford treatment. Out of nowhere, Donald stepped in. He paid for everything, every hospital bill, every medication. And he never told anyone, not even his family. He didn't want the attention." Nathan looked up, his skepticism slowly melting under the weight of her sincerity. Her voice softened. "I'm dying now, Chef Wong, and my last wish is to share that meatloaf with the little boy who used to sit in my kitchen, even if he's not that little boy anymore." Nathan sat back, stunned. The photograph, Eleanor's quivering voice, and the heartfelt memories she shared struck a chord deep within him. He thought of his own parents and the countless sacrifices they made for him. For the first time, Nathan saw past the headlines and controversy. This wasn't about politics. It was about love, about memory, and about the unspoken bonds forged in the warmth of a kitchen. The next morning, Nathan gathered his staff. "We're hosting a private dinner tonight," he announced, "for Miss Ellie. This isn't about politics. It's her last wish." The team nodded, sensing the weight of the moment. By evening, Low Country Hearth had transformed into a quiet sanctuary. No reporters, no cameras, just the stillness of anticipation. When Donald Trump arrived, he walked in not as a public figure, but as a man reuniting with a part of his past. Spotting Eleanor at the table, he paused, his usual demeanor softening. "Miss Ellie," he said gently. She smiled, her frail hands reaching out. "It's been a long time, Donnie." Their embrace was warm and heartfelt, a reunion decades in the making. Soon, Trump joined Nathan in the kitchen, following Eleanor's instructions to recreate her Sunday meatloaf. Rolling up his sleeves, he carefully layered the vegetables as she guided him. "Carrots first, then onions," she reminded. "You always loved them that way." As the meatloaf baked, Eleanor shared stories of her time with young Donald. His mishaps cracking eggs, his pride in baking his first pie, and the way he found comfort in her kitchen. Her voice trembled with joy, and the memories brought a rare tenderness to the room. When the meal was served, the dining room fell silent. Trump took a bite, his eyes closing as he savored the familiar taste. "It's perfect," he whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. "Just like I remember." Eleanor's eyes glistened with tears. "I knew you'd remember." For the rest of the evening, the room wasn't about fame or politics. It was about love, connection, and the power of a simple meal. Nathan watched as his restaurant became a place of healing, where a boy's bond with his nanny found its way back through the decades. As the evening ended, Eleanor turned to Nathan. "Thank you," she said softly. "You gave me back a piece of my heart tonight." As the evening came to a close, Nathan stood in his quiet kitchen, reflecting on what had just unfolded. It wasn't just a meal. It was a reminder of the power of love, memory, and the simple act of breaking bread together. Moments like these show us that food can heal even the deepest divides. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments what meal brings back your fondest memories. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today.